The principle of open government is enshrined in Kansas law. Want to know what information the state has collected about you? There's a law for that. What can elected leaders at all levels discuss behind closed doors? We've got a law for that too. They're called sunshine laws. That's what we're talking about right now on Kansas Week. I'm Pilar Pedraza, and this is Kansas Week. Letting the sun shine on what's really happening from town hall to the State House is a big reason why we as a show exist. It's something journalists are very familiar with, but these laws were designed with you in mind. So we thought we'd take a look at how open government works in Kansas. And it turns out, despite the laws, it often doesn't. Throughout much of 2017, the Kansas City Star investigated just how transparent our state government is. The conclusion of their investigation? The paper said Kansas, quote, runs one of the most secretive state governments in the nation, adding a veil has descended over the years and through administrations on both sides of the political aisle. The paper's investigation was looking at state government, but journalists and public citizens raise concerns almost daily about city and county governmental bodies violating the laws too. This includes things like serial meetings, where two members of an elected body, like a city council, meet to discuss a topic, then go their separate ways to discuss the same item with two other members. In this way, everyone's on the same page by the time the issue comes up at a public meeting without violating the quorum rules. Another common complaint about local government was raised most publicly about the Wichita Public School Board in 2017. Outgoing board member Joy Akins wrote an opinion piece to the Wichita Eagle saying the board was using executive sessions and emails to discuss more than what the board was supposed to be discussing behind closed doors, while at the same time limiting public input into issues at meetings. Meanwhile, at the State House, it's become common to have a committee introduce a new bill rather than individual lawmakers, making it difficult to find who's behind a certain piece of legislation. Then there's the gut and go maneuver that's become popular. You may have heard this term during the tax hike debates in 2015 and again 2017. It's where a bill can start as one thing, say regulating the use of train whistles in towns. It goes through the committee hearings process, then ends up having its contents gutted and replaced with something else entirely, say a new tax initiative. This new initiative doesn't get a hearing with public input, but goes straight to the floor of the House or Senate for a vote. Then there's the outright denial of open records requests, or charging what some consider outrageous amounts to hand those records over. In October of 2017, BuzzFeed sued Secretary of State Chris Kobach over a $1,025 bill for an email search. Kobach's office said the money was to pay for the time and resources to complete the search. BuzzFeed said an email search is a few keystrokes these days, not hours searching by hand through piles of old documents. While the online news agency later paid that bill to get the emails anyway, the case continues its way through the court system. And here to help us better understand the purpose behind these sunshine laws and why open government isn't always so open, we have Diane Leffler, reporter with the Wichita Eagle, and Doug Anstedt, I want to make sure I say that right, with the Kansas Press Association Executive Director, and Travis Mounts, editor from the Times-Sentinel papers. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure. Love you here.
Let's start off with, Diane, we were talking before the show started about how many loopholes there are in the law.
Basically, it's not a matter of loopholes as much as it is a matter of the entire law is a loophole. I'm going to go a little Ross Perot on you here with my graphics, but this is the part of the Open Meetings Act or the Open Records Act, I should say, that tells you what records are open. And this is the exemptions, page after page after page.
And I know you guys probably can't see it very well, but the type on that is not exactly big.
No, it's small type, single-spaced, just page after page, hundreds of exemptions, hundreds of exceptions that can be stretched to fit any occasion.
Yeah. I know you've done a lot of lobbying on some of these cases, Doug. Why is this such a problem? What's going on here?
Let me comment a little bit on what Diane said. The problem is that if we follow the law as it is written, we'd have a fairly decent law. The law says records are open. But the problem is there are a lot of these exceptions, but they are, in many cases, they're discretionary. But in our state, unfortunately, discretion, which means you can open them, you don't have to, but you can, it's always no. The answer is no, we're not going to open them. So in a way, having the discretion is the problem, and we maybe need a few more shalls. Those records shall be released when asked for.
And then you get to the idea of intent, and you've got too many people who are doing the government business, whether it's at the state level or at small school boards and city councils. They just don't feel like it is the public's business, and it is. It's our money. It's our power being exercised through the people that we elect, and it always. I always just struggle with the idea of people who want to get into government and then they don't want the public seeing what they're doing with the public's business and the public's money. If you don't want to be open, then you really ought to be finding a different job.
If I might jump in on that, most legislators were city council, county commissioners, school board members before they came to Topeka. And they had a little bit different view of what open government should be. Well, they bring that with them. And when the debates start, they remember what it was like back there when they really did think that, my gosh, if we could just do this behind closed doors, things would be wonderful. Well, those of us who are in the journalism business know that's not true. They may think it's true, but the fact is, better decisions aren't made behind closed doors.
And sometimes they are making these decisions because they don't want the public scrutiny, especially when you're at a city council or school board. It's your neighbors, it's your people, it's people that are giving you criticism over it, and it's uncomfortable at times. Then you factor in the notion that a lot of them just don't understand how the laws are supposed to work. And in many times, you may even have city staff that don't really understand how it works, or they don't feel like they can come out and call out, their council members, their bosses, for not handling things properly.
Well, a lot of times too, the staff will basically give them the message of, tell us what you want to do and we'll make it legal for you. As opposed to whether this is illegal or legal. And part of the problem too with all the exemptions in the law is they're very broadly written. And so they can be stretched. They can be stretched out and they can cover almost anything.
And they have been.
Most of the time, frankly, when you try to request something under the Kansas Open Records Act, you end up not getting what you asked for, you end up getting what they want to give you. Mm-hmm. And it is not this way in other states. I have worked in several other states with their Open Records Acts, their Open Meetings Acts, and it is not this way. They are far more transparent in every other state that I have ever worked with. In fact, I think this is possibly the weakest. We consistently, when we're judged against other states, we consistently get very, very poor marks.
Well, and that has certainly been my personal experience. I cut my teeth on covering politics in Iowa and open government there, and it was so much easier to get information than it is here.
Yeah, California too.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing that I've noticed is that public officials have decided that they have a new tactic. The tactic is, we'll give you the records, but it's going to cost you $1,000. Mm-hmm. So when the journalist says, well, I don't have $1,000, my newspaper's not going to give $1,000, they say, well, heck, we told you we'd give them to you, but we have to be paid for all that work we did. Well, we've been trying to. We had a senator from Pittsburgh, Senator LaTurner. He's now the state treasurer. Senator LaTurner, for 5 straight years, tried to get a cost containment measure and did, in a couple of years, get it through the Senate. It never got a hearing in the House. That's because all these local officials who sometimes I think they might even have a line item for revenue from Cora requests, they wouldn't stand for it. So it's a problem, big problem.
Well, I have to wonder.
If I could, let me just jump in for 1 second here, because this
is obviously something that we all have very strong experiences with.
Yes.
I just want to follow up on what he said, because I once got, I kid you not, a bill for, I filed a request for some records that were inspection records with the state, and they were stored in the salt mines in Hutchinson. Now it costs, I don't know, $30, $40 to get the box of records out of the salt mine. This agency invoiced me for travel, hotel, meals, for their general counsel and their public affairs person to travel from Topeka to Wichita to view the records to make sure that there wasn't anything there wasn't any private information in them to be redacted before they gave them to me.
Wow.
$1,200.
Big bills. And certainly we've got a case on that in early 2018 going through the court system involving Kobach and BuzzFeed, $1,000 for an email search. You know, it doesn't take me that long to search my old emails using a keyword term. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, again, it has nothing to do with the amount of work. It's
Yes.
about setting up obstacles.
And what's interesting about that is that the Secretary of State has indicated that when he was serving on the President's commission that was looking at voter fraud, that he was there as a private citizen. Well, you can't have it both ways. When you are an elected official, you're an elected official all the time. And so for him to argue that he wasn't, therefore his emails are private was a ridiculous argument, we thought.
And it definitely issues. One of the big problems we're having these days, as you kind of pointed out, is the law catching up with the technology and how things have changed there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, Governor Jeff Collier, shortly after taking office, he did make some moves to reduce those costs. That's that's a positive, and he also required that the governor's office only use official email accounts now, because that was another problem, which was people were
A lot of complaints under Governor Brownback, yeah.
Exactly, they were exchanging emails using private accounts and then claiming that those were not government records, even though they were doing government business. So,
And while it's not our governor, the governor of Missouri has been using a software system that erases immediately. He's been having contact between him and his staff, and those things are gone immediately. And what's interesting is the Attorney General was investigating that, and he says, I have no evidence to be able to say that he was even doing this. No. So the technology is getting way ahead of us.
Yeah, they even had struggled with that at the federal level with Twitter, the president's Twitter account between George W. Bush and Barack Obama, and they had to make a change in law there. I want to raise this question real quick before we move on to our next topic here. How much of this is a result of voter apathy? Because after Watergate, after President Nixon's resignation, there was a big push. The public wanted greater input. They wanted greater sunshine spread on what was going on in government. But since then, we've seen those going to the polls. The numbers continue to drop. 50%, 40%, 30%, 25% is considered a good turnout these days. How much of that plays into lawmakers saying, it's our business, not theirs?
It absolutely does at all levels. Our staff and myself go to a lot of city council meetings, and frequently we are the public. It's the staff, it's the elected officials, and a singular reporter, and you don't see anybody else there. At least not until you get everybody in town worked up over a singular issue of one kind or another. But yeah, it's very easy to feel like you can operate out of public view when there is no public showing up to view you.
well, and one other thing too is, with the advent of technology, city council members have a computer on their desk, and so they are receiving input from each other and from outside the building while the meeting is going on. So even though you're sitting there in the room watching the meeting, that meeting may be taking place on electronic devices, and you never see that.
Very good point.
One of the points is that if you notice when something gets legs, it's generally when the public gets upset. When journalists are crying about something, everybody says, "Oh, well, that's their job. They do that all the time. They're always complaining." But you saw with the recent shootings in Florida that it was the public that got upset, used social media in a really good way, and kind of fired up the nation. So I think what we need is for us to not be the ones complaining, but the public. And when the public comes out and starts marching, things will
That's when
happen.
lawmakers pay attention. Well, it may not always be easy to get records from the government, but right now it's easier than it's ever been before due to major overhauls in sunshine laws at the federal and state levels in the 70s and 80s. Then came the advent of the internet. The concept of open government, allowing all Americans to at least observe, if not participate in the process, goes back to the European Age of Enlightenment in the 18th century and the American and French Revolutions. The first actual laws regulating these ideas in the United States came in Utah in 1898, with other states slowly following suit, the last joining in the 60s and 70s. With increasing public distrust of government and elected officials after Watergate, Congress passed the Government in the Sunshine Act in 1976, a major overhaul of the country's open government laws. This is where we get the term sunshine laws. The Kansas Open Meetings Act came in 1972 at the height of the Watergate scandal. Kansas' current Open Records Act, based on the federal version, came into being in 1984. The state Supreme Court has ruled these laws are to be interpreted liberally. That means if there's any question, the decision should go in favor of releasing the information to the public. These days, with many state and local governments making records available online and live streaming meetings, it's easier than ever to keep up with what's going on. Easier to keep up if you're interested, but again, we talked about not as many people are interested, and also in some ways, as you said, easier to hide.
Yeah, I mean, there's technology has been sort of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And one thing too that you notice is we talked about how when Watergate went down and there was, in Vietnam, and there was this distrust in government.
Pentagon Papers and
Exactly,
the missing
yes.
tapes and
Just all these things that hit. At that point, the laws were pretty good. But I have watched over the course of my career, 35 years now, as those laws have been eroded. Every year, you see bills go across the state legislature. We probably should exempt that from open records. Probably should exempt this. Probably should exempt that. A lot of stuff gets hidden under the rubric of security now.
Yeah. Well, one big issue, talking about that, not to interrupt, but I'm going to, is body camera video. And it's been a big fight in the state of Kansas for a while over whether or not that should be released in cases of officer-involved shootings. In other states, releasing the name of the officers, releasing the video is automatic. Here, unless the agency decides that that it suits their interest to do so, it just doesn't happen. And I can remember an ongoing bit between me and the PIO with the Wichita Police Department every time there was an officer-involved shooting. I'd walk into the meeting, their daily press briefing, and say, "You know what I'm going to ask?" And he's like, "Yep, you know what I'm going to say."
Well, this issue has kind of evolved from a couple of years ago when the first bill came out was going to completely shut these forever. And even though we didn't get anything close to what we need, we kept that from happening and got it sent to the Kansas Judicial Council. They studied it, came back with calling body cam videos a law enforcement or a criminal investigation record. Problem with that is we have trouble getting those.
Yep.
But this year we passed a little bit of a tweak, and it was kind of a miracle because it looked like it wasn't going to go anywhere. So families of those who are victims will now be able to get to see those videos much more quickly. They won't have to suffer for months like the family in Topeka did. 77 days before they got even an answer about whether they could watch it. So we got a little bit done. It's going to be sent to the Judicial Council once again. But I tell you, the legislature, there's a turn coming, I believe. I see more support for it.
Well, talking about that, there have actually been at least twice here in Kansas in my career where I was the one who got my hands on the body camera video through open records requests and determined pushing in smaller communities. And so I was the one who actually ended up providing that to the family, simply because I didn't want it to show up on air with them not knowing that we had it. I wanted them to be prepared, and if they didn't want to see it or see it in public the way we were going to air it, then they could not watch TV that night.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a misconception that journalists want to see each and every video as soon as possible. And there's a lot of, I mean, we do understand that there are things that don't need to be public, that they're, whether it's identities or other things. But when you've got, especially in these very serious situations where somebody dies, and there are questions over what happened and why it happened, this information coming out can help a police department fix problems it has if it was at fault, or it can help defend a police department that its officers did act appropriately and within the guidelines that they're supposed to follow, and that can create trust in what they do as well. And so, nothing seeds doubts of mistrust like just not sharing information. Why aren't you sharing something? That's the question.
We're aware of one police department that had, they said in a given time, they didn't say the time period, had 119 requests from families to see the video from a body cam, and most of them were upset with the police and thought that they'd handled the situation wrongly or brutally. And once they saw them, hardly any of them followed up. So I think the police. It's a good thing for the police, but there's a second side to it. It's not only to help the police and to give them some evidence. It's also to have the public be able to scrutinize what the police do. And so those videos that come out when there's a problem, like the swatting incident here, the Dominic White murder and shooting in Topeka, and the person who was shot in Barber County with I guess it was a beanbag out of a shotgun that killed him. Those kinds of things, that's when we need to have the right to see these and share them with the public and have the public scrutinize the police.
All right, talking about a right to see them, it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty. How do these laws work here in Kansas? If you want to know something, how do you go about getting it? Kansas sunshine laws come in two forms: the Kansas Open Records Act, or KORA, and the Kansas Open Meetings Act, or KOMA. KORA opens state records to anyone who asks, though it's most often used by journalists. You have to find the correct person or department to go to for the information you want and fill out a form. You may be asked to pay for paper copies, and not all organizations are equipped to provide free electronic copies. In general, any record kept by the state, a county, or city government about the government is open to public view. You just have to make the formal written request. These records include emails, memos, and phone records, among many, many others. But Kansas law excludes most non-printable records like audio and video recordings, although those are often placed on YouTube. In addition, some details may be redacted or blacked out, such as Social Security numbers, information in an ongoing criminal investigation, or student financial information. KOMA, the Open Meetings Act, determines when and why a governmental body, such as a city council or county commission, can go into executive session to discuss matters out of public view. It also requires those bodies to provide written notice to the public of upcoming meetings. If you disagree with a decision about what records to release to the public, or believe a governing group is violating an Open Meetings Act, you can file a complaint with the Kansas Attorney General's office, or a lawsuit. And this, I think, is kind of one of the problems, because it's kind of like the rats keeping an eye on the mice. Because if you've got a problem, who do you go to? A member of the government. It often doesn't work out very well. And so there's, to my opinion, there's very little teeth left. I want to bring up a case of the student journalist law in Kansas. Kansas is one of several states that have these laws that protect student journalists from the schools, public schools only, governing what they say. Very strong law, but there's no teeth to it. The only way to enforce it is for the students whose rights have been abrogated to sue in court. I've covered a couple of cases, Hutchinson Community College, Wichita State University, the Sunflower, embattled with the university possibly being closed because the university does not like the stories that the paper is publishing. That's censorship.
Well, the experience that Wichita State went through recently is an indicator that the administrations sometimes don't understand the power of journalism, and also the power of journalism when you're shut out. And I think this was a PR disaster for Wichita State, and it was self-inflicted. They didn't have to do what they did. They could have had these meetings open to the students who are the ones who are paying the fees, and they chose not to, and then later decided they had to back off and open those up. So it's I think that the students might, go back to Pittsburgh High School, and they uncovered information that principal wasn't qualified. Students, they're more than just students. They're
journalists.
They're training to be journalists, and we need to give them, mostly what professional journalists have, and freedom to do what they need to do to cover things.
Well, in talking about covering things up, not working well, go back to the Watergate case. They had excluded the Washington Post reporters from the White House. All of that stuff that Woodward and Bernstein did that uncovered Watergate, that brought about President Nixon's resignation, that was done from outside. A good journalist, we all know this, we've been there, doesn't have to be in the room to find the information.
But it doesn't hurt either.
No, it certainly doesn't. It helps a lot.
Makes it a little more difficult.
Yep.
Well, and when you set up obstacles for a journalist, they tend to get more and more motivated. So, in a lot of ways, you just enhance the problem that you're trying to get rid of.
Yeah. And this is probably going to have to be the last word. We're starting to run out of time. But my perspective has always been, and I've advised a lot of people this, you're better off talking than not talking, because when you don't talk, you look guilty. When you don't open government, it looks like you've got something to hide, even if you don't.
What's interesting about the real push towards transparency this year is, yes, it's an election year, and that's probably what's driving a lot of it. But the fact is that politicians that run on transparency win. The public wants transparency, and so those that are doing that, and the governor got a huge boost out of that with his executive orders, and I think it's a winning issue.
Yeah. Well, not one that's going to go away. As long as there are journalists, there's going to be questions about open government, because, as you said, we're not going to let it go.
We'll keep fighting.
We'll keep fighting. And it's always up to the public, too. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me. I appreciate your input. I want to thank you as well. I hope this discussion has helped Kansans get a better understanding of government transparency here in our state. If you still have questions, feel free to contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just look for KPTS Channel 8 or Pilar Pedraza TV. For now, have a great week.